Material registration is basically making sure we don't end up creating duplicate entries for the same material. Especially when we're assigning codes, we want to avoid adding the same code with identical specs and parameters more than once. Usually, when we register a material, we depend a lot on the description field. But the thing is, the description field doesn't guarantee uniqueness. For example, if I register a capacitor and type out its description, and then come back later and use that same description again, the system still lets me register another material with that exact description. That's not really what we want. The description field just doesn't have the ability to check if something's unique. It won't look into the database to see if the material already exists. That's why we use another field, which is called the classification field. With the classification field, the system actually blocks you from registering duplicate materials. So if I try to add a material using its classification, I can just put placeholder in the description and the system will auto-generate a proper description based on the classification details we enter. The description will be filled in for you automatically. For now, I'll just type test into the description field. This will get replaced automatically once we save the material. Here, we've set up a class called GCApp for capacitors and given it a few default characteristics. Now let's say this capacitor has a value of 120, a rated voltage of 50, and the dielectric material is D1. We'll make a note of these because if anyone tries to register another capacitor with the same values, 120, 50, and D1, the system will block it. Let's go ahead and confirm. Right now, you'll still see that the description just says test. Now let's complete the registration for this material. My material has now been registered under number 3479. Let's go and have a look at its description in the media section. As you can see, it's been registered as capacitor 120 FV-D1. This description was automatically picked up from our classification database based on the parameters we set earlier. Now let's try to register another capacitor with the same details, 120 TV and D1 dielectric, and see if the system lets us or blocks the duplicate entry. Earlier, we entered 120 NF for the capacitance 50V and D1 as the dielectric. Now when I try to go to the next screen with these same values, the system immediately alerts me that this object is already classified. It even shows the name, pointing out that number 3479 is already registered with these details, so it won't let you register it again. This is how we avoid duplicate entries during registration. Now let's check out a different transaction. Here we can also see all capacitors under this class. For example, if it's from the ZCAP class or related to capacitors, let's run the search and see the details. This will show us all the capacitors that have been registered. So apart from the 120 NF1 we added, we can also see the earlier 110 NF entry. From here, we can view and verify all the capacitors, making sure the material is actually there.